Welcome everyone to this MICCAI webinar. I'm glad to say that we're joined by Maruf today. I will let you do your own introduction, but this session is going to be about how to choose and submit to a MICCAI workshop, and challenge, and there'll be time for you to ask questions. And without further ado, I'll hand over to Maruf.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon to my people in Africa, and good morning to our people on the other side of the world in the West. It is a pleasure for me this afternoon to be presenting on how to participate in MICCAI workshops and challenges. Maruf Adewole is my name, as mentioned earlier, and I am the lab manager of Medical Artificial Intelligence Laboratory based in Lagos, Nigeria. Without further ado, let's delve in. I believe strongly that MICCAI is not something to be introducing to majority of us, as we all know what the organization is all about. What they are focused in is basically medical image computing and also computer-aided diagnosis. This is an outline of my talk, and let's delve into it. So apart from the main, MICCAI typically organizes conferences every year. And at these conferences, it presents opportunity for people who are working in medical imaging across the globe to meet, to discuss about the state-of-the-art technologies in these conferences. There's always presentation, there's always keynote speeches, there's always talks, there's always opportunity to meet. And as part of the sideline of this conference, there are workshops. There are workshops, there are satellite events, there are tutorials, and there are also challenges. The conference typically take a week for 5 days, and at the beginning of the conference, like a day before the conference, there's also the day is always dedicated for workshop, and also the dates preceding the last dates of the conference is also dedicated for workshop as well. And they typically follow these approaches of having structured content for each one of the workshop. Like for instance, in the last MICCAI conference that was held in Vancouver, Canada, there was 34 workshops that were hosted. And each one of these workshops are like mini conferences on its own, but with a streamlined topic that enables people who have that research interest to be able to come together and provide insights on the states of things in that particular research field. And it typically takes a full day format or a half day format. So also in the same shape, we also have challenges. Challenges are similar to workshops, but they are not exactly workshops. Challenges are like competitions that must have been taking place over the course, taking place for some time leading to the start of the conference itself, like 3 months before the conference. And it usually has a key focus, whether it is organ targeted, whether it is an image targeted, whether it is disease targeted. So those challenges are usually tasking participants to come up with state-of-the-art techniques on working around medical image technologies towards enabling these techniques to be better analyzed, better to be able to get insights from them that will enable improve clinical outcomes. So these workshops also take place almost simultaneously with the challenge, which is a day before the conference and a day after the conference, and also take the formats of either a full day or a half day. And there's always different groups, different committees that handle these tasks, these challenges. And also last year, in fact, as well, there were 28 challenges that were organized. And there is also an important aspect of this satellite event as well that is not common. We call them the tutorials. The essence of tutorials is to give insights. They are like structured training of new technologies to absolute amateurs in this particular field. They are also part of the satellite event as well, and they are targeted towards training people in the hearts of the technologies with which each of the tutorials are earlier established. So MICCAI challenges focus on a number of things, depending on what you might be looking for. There are some of these challenges that is targeted towards segmentation only, which makes use of UNets, VNets, transformers, attention modules towards segmenting either tumor or organ. There's also a registration challenge as well, which looks at how to register images of the same sequence of images of the same modality but different sequence, or registering images of different modality to each other. There's also a registration challenge. There's also a classification challenge, which works closely with detection, like when you have a classifier that is supposed to detect the presence of breast cancer in a particular mammograph image. That's a classification challenge. And we also have synthesis challenge. The essence of synthesis, they employ the use of generative adversarial network, GANs, to synthesize images from the input data that they must have already been filled. And we also have an image analysis challenge as well, before we now finally have the construction image. The essence of the construction challenge is to look at, take for instance, low-dose CT. Trying to, of course, low-dose CT will definitely have noises in them, but when you apply state-of-the-art techniques in artificial intelligence and what have you, you get to have images of high diagnostic quality that are being obtained with low-dose. So we also have challenges that are working on reconstruction, that are working on image analysis. And one of the ways with which all these challenges help clinical outcome is because they gather the best brains in the same room, talking about the same subject. And at the end of the day, we have some of these methods that have translated into clinical use already. So also moving forward, selecting a MICCAI challenge, which is the main core focus of why we're having this conversation today. There are a lot of challenges, and it can be quite confusing determining which one of them to go for. The first thing to look at is your personal interest. We have people who outrightly have interest in anything breasts. So if you are interested in breast, the first place to look is to mammograph. After mammograph, you look at breast ultrasound. So your personal interest should definitely be in any challenge that you might want to participate in. Another thing is to review the previous challenges. When you look at all the publications that have happened in previous challenges, they are usually published in journals. I know we have LNCS series for some challenges as well. So when you are able to get your hand on the previous challenges that have happened, you look at the methods, you could be able to determine whether you are interested in them or not. And then there's also an area of domain knowledge. Take, for instance, someone who is a breast imaging specialist, or someone who's an ultrasonographer and want to participate in a challenge. He or she have domain expertise in breast ultrasonography already. So it's the domain knowledge that you have in that region will already set you apart and would already help you to understand the challenge better without definitely having to go back and learn so much about ultrasonography before you are able to participate in it fully. Another aspect is the imaging modality. As mentioned earlier, the kind of imaging modality you are interested in determines the kind of challenge you'll be able to participate in. If you are interested in brain tumor and your image modality is in ultrasound, that means it is a misfit. You need to definitely, MRI is the gold standard for imaging brain tumor. So you need to definitely be interested in MRI or have expertise in MRI technology before you are able to participate in challenges that make use of MRI effectively. Another thing is disease disorder. Due to people's experiences, we've known some people who are quite interested in finding solutions to some diseases more than others. So when you have such kind of interest, it's also help you to streamline your interest into knowing which kind of challenges are focused towards this particular diseases, and it should guide you in knowing which one of the challenges to participate. Second to the last, computing resources. I know this might not be a challenge to people who have access to HPC, but in this part of the world, computing resources is a big challenge. Most of these challenges require the use of a GPU to run them, to train them, and it could be expensive it could really be expensive to get your hands on this technology. And it's also to my understanding that state-of-the-art technologies nowadays no longer run on available GPUs out there. They need HPCs, those running V100, A100s to be able to run, and even gaining access, even remote access to some of these HPCs could be quite expensive. The other alternative would be to make use of Google Colab or to make use of Kaggle. And this as well, if you are going to make use of Google Colab, except for the open source tools, which will allow you to make use of T4, Tesla, and what have you. If you want to make use of A100, V100s on Google Colab, you need to subscribe to the Pro Fashion, which is also quite expensive too as well. And the last thing is also the task. As mentioned earlier, that we have different kind of task: segmentation, reconstruction, image analysis, detection, classification. The kind of task you are interested in also dictates the kind of challenge that you will be interested in, you will be able to participate in. So it is always a good practice to assess all these 7 categories and answer question based on the 29 challenges that we have, in determining which one is your best fit before you start laying your hands on the challenge and trying to understand the nitty-gritty of those challenges and participating in them. So moving on, what are the benefits of participation? As mentioned earlier, it gives an opportunity to participate in state-of-the-art researches. It gives you the opportunity to experiment on the frontiers of science itself. It gives you to actually give you the opportunity to work on actually blocking a gap that exists. And those solutions that arises from that can actually have impactful clinical outcomes in the future. Another thing, it gives you an opportunity to network and collaborate with people from every part of the globe. All challenges that we have right now, they pride themselves on having multi-country participants. And when you participate in a challenge, even if they are not in your team, you get to meet the people that organize them, you get to meet co-participants, and who knows the kind of collaboration that can emanate from this kind of networking opportunity. So it gives a very strong networking opportunity for future collaboration. And if you are able to participate in this challenge and you get ranked extremely high, it is a sort of academic and professional recognition. I know that majority of the challenges that we have, they run the ranking, and the ranking is not based on a year alone. I know some of those ranks that still have their best results from 2023, some of them having it from 2022. So if you have a really good result, you get to be recognized in your professional field very well. And there is also monetary gifts that are attached to some of these challenges, sometimes as small as $500, and sometimes as much as $2,000, or even computing resources donation, depending on the kind of sponsors that you have for this challenge that you are participating in. So monetary gift is one aspect to look at it, but the money might not really be much. It's more or less like a stipend, so it's not really that huge to warrant participating in them just for the monetary stake alone. So, and then you also get to develop your skill, and you enjoy an amazing learning experience while working on these challenges. In reviewing the state-of-the-art technologies, currently state-of-the-art techniques, you get to learn more about what is happening at the other side of the world. And in developing your own skill to match those techniques too, you are gradually improving your skill in the same context. So these are benefits of participation. There are more than these, but these are the ones I'm able to lay my hand right now. And I also understand that volunteerism, service to humanity, can also be part of the reasons why people are participating in this challenge to help people who are not able to help themselves with this technology. So moving forward, there is always a timeline. There's always a timeline to all the challenges that we have. And all those timelines follow the same approach. There's always a registration date. There's always a registration date which coincide with the dates of the training data set release. And the training data set will always have the data set itself, and then also the grant truth. If it is a segmentation challenge, there always be an annotation file attached. If it is a classification challenge, there's always an Excel spreadsheet or a CSV file somewhere telling you about the outcome of the images that you have there, whether positive, whether negative. You always have those data sets in that format released, which enables you to start your training. Then after a month or thereabout, about 6 weeks, there's always a validation data set released. The validation data sets would only give you the opportunity to expose your methods on new images without giving it the opportunity to look at the ground truth. Then after the validation phase ends, you submit MLQ, after you submit your validation, they rank it, you submit your your containerized solution, then the winners are announced, then you ask to submit your short paper, you ask to submit your full paper or a camera-ready paper. I'm still going to talk briefly about the aspects of the timeline in the next slide, but this is just to let us understand that all the challenges that we have, they have similar timeline, and the release of data sets is usually in April, May, and they always follow the same approach. And their validation data set release is always like a month to the date of the workshop of the challenge itself at MICCAI, where everybody that has been notified that they are a winner would come around to present their methods and to the whole audience, and after that they can get awarded with monetary gifts or plaques or whatever that the committee organizers have prepared for them. So I am going to take a case study of brain tumor segmentation challenge for a number of reasons. Number one, I am part of a co-organizer of the brain tumor segmentation challenge. I co-organized the Bright Africa Challenge last year, and we'll still be running the same challenge this year as well. So this, and to the best of my knowledge, this is the only challenge that tends to have focus on Africa, and it is a well-known fact at this point that we all know that MICCAI is coming to Marrakesh in the next few months, and so this would also be an opportunity to introduce this challenge to our African attendees. If they are able to participate in this challenge, it will be nice. And I will be talking about briefly about the brain tumor segmentation challenge, especially the African challenge. Last year we released the data sets in May, which is immediately after the challenge launch, and people are asked to register. We made use of the Synapse platform, but I understand that there are also other platforms that some other challenges make use of. I know of grant challenges. I know of people who host their challenges on Kaggle as well. I know people who make use of GitHub as well. So irrespective of, and there are also people who created their own independent website to be able to cater to this functionality. So irrespective of the challenge you might be participating in, the registration is always open in May or even earlier than that. And then in June, in late June, we are going to release our data sets, the validation data set, which is without the labels, as mentioned earlier. The essence of the validation data set is to test the training that you've already done using the initially released training data sets. You are going to get some results from your validation, usually die-score coefficient in our case, because we are working with segmentation. The results are what you are going to upload back on the Synapse platform, which gives you the opportunity to participate in the validation phase. So after participation in the validation phase, which the condition is the submission of your validation results, you are supposed to prepare a short paper. A short paper doesn't necessarily have to be that detailed. It just needs to be a mention of the methods you employ and the preliminary results that you have from your validation. If you are making use of attention mechanisms, you must be able to justify the reason why you are making use of attention mechanism. If you are implementing a novel data augmentation practice, this is where you mention it, that this is what you are working on. And the assessment of your short paper and the assessment of your validation paper is what gives you the opportunity to participate in the testing phase. It is only participants that submit their short papers with also the validation results that would be allowed to participate in the testing phase. Oftentimes, we have, at this stage, we usually have about 30% attrition rate from participation due to the fact that it gets increasingly computational complex, and some participants might not really be able to compete at this stage any longer. So, but after the testing phase, you will be required to submit the containerized solution of the methods that you've prepared. In our case, we make use of ML cubes. There are some challenges that make use of Docker, and there are also some challenges that make use of Gandalf. So irrespective of whatever your challenge organizers specify, it is at this stage that you will be required to make use of whatever containerized solution that they required, and upload their solution to them. The reason why your solution has to be containerized is because that there has been sometimes in the past people who messed up with their results just so they can be ranking, and on actual evaluation of the method, they discovered that it is actually a non-performing solution. So Docker and ML cubes gives you the opportunity to install your dependencies inside the containerized solution, and it is that container that you upload. So it will allow the organizers to run your methods on their own computers and also test it using some testing data sets that were not released to the general public. So if the results from the testing that the organizers performed coincide with the validation solution that you've earlier presented, then you will be ranked based on the results of the two. And after then, you get notified about the outcome of your solutions, and it is at this stage that you will be invited to come and present your solution at the MICCAI workshop. And afterwards, after the MICCAI, you will be required to prepare a camera-ready manuscript of your solution for presentation in LNCS or whatever the journal that your challenge organizers might have stated out that would be publicizing all the contents that are generated from these from the challenge. So moving forward, tips for success. Over time, there are some indices that we've seen that they guarantee a successful outcome in participating in this challenge. The first thing is forming a strong team. If you are unable to form a strong team, then join a strong team. Some of these challenges always have a platform whereby you can communicate with other participants. The idea is that when two heads are better than one, and when you leverage on each other's strengths, it is always good to, you get good results when you leverage on each other's strengths, and you tend to have your best foot moving forward. We've understand that while some people are good with some libraries, others might not be so good in the library, but if you are able to share an experience by joining each other in a team, you stand a very good chance of having a very good outcome in the workshop. And open science is all about collaboration, and forming or joining a team is one of a very good practice towards practicing open science. The next is to have access to an extremely good computing resources. With each state-of-the-art technology that is being developed day by day, their computational requirements keeps increasing. And the best way to be able to experiment with these technologies is to also have computing resources that are able to cater for their needs. Next, you need to also work on the latest advancements in the field. UNet is no longer a new thing. It's been around since 2015, 2016. But each day, people keep making new variants of UNet on a day-by-day basis. So you need to understand what the latest advancement is on whichever technology you intend to use. You need to look out for them and hopefully try to copy or adapt these techniques into your own solution as well. Then in experimenting with different techniques, I generally recommend that you perform an an ablative study on whatever solution you might want to be. Have a number of respective solutions and test each one of those solutions out. You might initially have it at the back of your mind that if you implement a particular data augmentation procedure on your input images, that is going to improve the response based on what you've read in some literatures. It might be shocking to discover that when you actually implemented it, it actually performed worse. There has been cases like that. So it's always good to have a number of techniques that you've initially mapped out and just iterate through all those techniques, working with different layers, working with different slot functions, different optimizers, and try to see which one of them give you the best result. Also, have a very versatile baseline configuration. Now, there are some existing baseline, like NNUnit, for instance, like optimized unit. These solutions are reputable. They've been proven over time to be really strong. So it is always good to have them as your baseline, and whatever new techniques you want to implement them based on this baseline. It is always a good practice to do that, and at the end of the day, it will limit your chances of running into error. And one of the thing with working with some of these challenges is that errors do come up a lot. And while some errors are navigable, others are not. Sometimes you might not even know what you are doing wrong. But when you work with a baseline configuration that is quite popular, there's usually a community around it. And if you post some of these issues on their GitHub repository or Stack Overflow, sometimes you get people to respond to you instead of running into errors and staying inside your own, inside your quicksand. And lastly, enjoy the process. It is research, it is science. Science is meant to be enjoyable. If you have, if you are hard-coded or hardwired towards just hacking, you could find yourself frustrated at the end of the day. But if you see it as a pleasurable activity, as an enjoyable activity, you might be doing a revolutionary work without feeling the impact or the stress on your mental health. So it is always a good advice to ensure that you lay out your processes earlier enough. You start early enough as well, and to ensure that you enjoy the process. Sometimes your code will not work. If it is not working, just take a break, come back to it, and who knows, you might just only change a comma or a parenthesis, and you get your code working again. So with that, we've come to the quick tips that I have to share with you about how to select a challenge to participate in MICCAI. And one key thing that I didn't address in the course of the lecture is that participating in this challenge itself has a way of making you better than usual. You are working on a challenge that would probably get cited, and consequently improving your citation on Google Scholar or Research Hub and what have you, instead of working on a streamlined research area. You are working in a field where others are equally working. And by doing that, you get to cite each other, you get to leverage on each other's discoveries, and thereby working in a big community that will definitely lead to a very impactful outcome, not just globally, but also in Africa as well. So we've come to the end of this talk. Thank you so much. I would like to welcome questions at this stage.
Thank you very much. I'll just end the recording now, and yeah.